Hello, I'm Tara Brabazon. I'm the Dean of Graduate Research at Flinders University, and welcome to Vlog 221. Anxiety. Yes, we are unbelievably nearing the end of our comma series. We were all different people when this comma series commenced, but there is a reason why we placed anxiety at the very end of this series, because I wanted to make sure that we led into this quite complicated and ambiguous word and state. Because what happens is, so often students present into my office, they come into my office, I say, how you going, how you feeling? And at least half of the time, the response from the student, how are you feeling? The response is, I'm anxious. I'm anxious. Now, I do always wonder what they mean by that word, anxiety and feeling anxious. So we're going to go into that state today. We're going to look at it and the problems and the challenges that such an ambiguous word provides within doctoral education. So let's go into anxiety as a comma, as a temporary state, and then, as we always do, show how it operates in higher education. But then, yes, the optimistic ending, we provide 5 strategies for you to get you out of anxiety as a full stop. We move you into a different place and a different space. So the question is really, what is anxiety? And that's not a simple question. What is anxiety, and why does it manifest so strongly in doctoral programs? Now, the reason I think we placed it near the end, and it was always near the end of the comma series, is I believe that anxiety is a label that often masks other concerns. It masks other problems. So, for example, you might have found as we move through the series, you recognized yourself, whether it was in denial, or whether it was in self-absorption, or whether it was in jealousy and bullying. You recognized something there. Now, that's great and that's important, because when you recognize those issues and implemented those strategies, then you were able to create change rather than simply reverting back to I am feeling anxious, which so often is a label rather than a description. So let's put in place some definitions of anxiety and then how we get out of it. Now, anxiety has lots of different manifestations, okay? And all sorts of adjectives and nouns are added around it. So generalized anxiety, social anxiety, separation anxiety. So let's whack an adjective in the front of it and hope for the best. But when you go into what anxiety is, let me raise a scenario for you. How many of the following characteristics have you felt? Have you experienced? Worrying, feeling restless, being tired, having difficulty concentrating, being irritable, having sore muscles, difficulty falling asleep, you're finding yourself over-planning, so you're an over-planner, and you're endlessly wanting reassurance from others that you're okay. Now, let's be honest, just about the entire population is managing those attributes on a daily basis. So if you are alive, you're going to have some of the characteristics that we enfold into anxiety at least some of the time. So do you do this? Are you a what if person? The what if people are quite challenging to manage and work with, can I say, but the what if person, so if this happens, then what will occur? Right, so they invent a scenario that probably won't happen and then worry that they won't be able to handle it. So have you got that? And if you're one of those people, please acknowledge it. So, oh, if this happens, then what will I do? It hasn't happened, don't worry about it. But also, if you've got that very, what I call the negative mongrel voice in your head, you know, that, and it's your own voice, but just a bit mongrel. You know, you're not good enough. you can't do this, you don't work hard enough, you're not clever enough. You know, that sort of nagger in your head, and it's not nagging from other people, it's your own personal nag in your head. So of course this is anxiety. This is an emotional state, but it also, and this is the important bit of this story, it has physical attributes. Now the emotional states are linked with particular physical behaviours. I'm not saying this is false or fake, by the way, at all. It's real. And it's real and it manifests emotionally, but the physical responses are also important. So that muscle tension, that intense fatigue, I'm sure you have it, I have it too. Some days I am so tired, I'm battling to get my body up the stairs to go to bed. Okay, so I get that. So intense fatigue, irritability, headaches, you're unable to concentrate, dry mouth and tremors. Right? So these physical behaviours align with the emotional states, and they really come together to convey an intense worry about the future, or if you like, anticipated events, what could happen. So there's a clear overlap here between anxiety and worry. Anxiety is distinguished from fear, by the way, one of our earlier entries into the comma series. Anxiety is different from fear because fear is configured as an appropriate response to a perceived threat. So something happens and you're frightened, and you should be. That's fear. Anxiety, though, and this is where it gets really interesting, anxiety is a response to a situation that is framed as uncontrollable or unavoidable, but that's not actually true. It's not necessarily true. So these emotional states result in an overreaction, if you will, a dread of the future. Yep. So anxiety disorders, I have challenges with that word, but let's use it. Anxiety disorders emerge from this normative anxiety. It's absolutely normal to feel anxious about the future. My goodness me, right? But when it persists, that's when we need to do some interventions. Because obviously one of the outcomes of anxiety are a series of panic attacks. And again, they're much more common in the culture that people talk about or they're studied. And, you know, it's a terrible, terrible thing. I've had a few, and you think you're going to die. I get that. So panic attacks, wow. Luckily, I don't have them anymore, but I developed some of the strategies we're talking about today so that I never have them, right? But so they can result in this terrible panic attack where you think you're going to die, okay? So all of this is quite significant. I'm not minimizing anxiety at all. Anxiety demonstrates that a person is lacking the coping skills, is lacking the context, lacking the support to manage the present and also the anticipated or the perceived future. And they're not trusting themselves to manage what life may present them. Wow. So therefore, it's really important now that we tether this, we move this into understanding the PhD experience, how and why students assume the worst, and then also assume their complete inability to manage the ups and the downs of the candidature. Anxiety emerges through social interactions, and what's significant is the younger the person, the more likely they are to experience anxiety. Isn't that interesting? And it's a particular anxiety as you are younger, mixing with unfamiliar people. That particularly creates anxiety. But also guys and girls, crew that have traumatic experiences or particular modes of parenting, when in doubt blame your mother, particular modes of parenting, all of those variables are also social risk factors. And it's often bundled together in what I think is a wonderful, remarkable, evocative phrase: an unquiet mind. Amazing, isn't it? Unquiet mind. So many areas of your life are creating noise in your mind. unresolved relationship issues, right? Rage, anger, jealousy, basically our complete comma series. Yeah, if these are unresolved, that creates anxiety. And it creates those internal dialogues that are so unproductive. So you bottle up your feelings because you can't express them. Now, I didn't realise, to be frank with you, that this was such a big issue in higher degrees until I got into this job. And it manifests in this job where a student comes and sees me, and I have lots of mainly student appointments every single day, and a student sits in my office, and within 2 minutes, sometimes within 1 minute, but within 2 minutes, they are not only crying, so they're not only just crying, they're gulping with a cry. You know, that what I often call the ugly cry. that sort of crying. And it's so quick. They come in, they sit down, and out this incredible flurry of emotion and tears emerge. Now, why? Why is this happening time and time again? There is a reason. It's because these students had no opportunity to express their worries and to tell their stories. And of course, if you can't tell your story, you can't express the worry, put it into language, then anxiety will result. Also, you may be feeling guilty, and of course, often guilt can be completely legitimate, can I say. So if you're feeling guilty because you know you haven't done enough experiments, you know you haven't read enough, you know you haven't written enough, you know that. And of course, you then have a tendency, you might blame other people, and so you are guilty, and that guilt starts to nag in your head, and again, that nagger creates anxiety. So anxiety refers to a collection of behaviours and conditions. It's a change in your body, and a change in your mind, in your emotional states. The changes in your body, and we all know them, that pounding heart, poof, 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 poof. You feel like your heart's about to explode out of your chest, yep? Increased rate of breathing, feeling tense, often, here we go, pain in the neck, pain in the back, sweating, dizziness, shaking, and that disturbed feeling in your stomach that's often been described as butterflies in your stomach. Doesn't feel like that, does it? So the problem is that when you're in the middle of this, when you're in the middle of anxiety, you think it's going to last forever. So you think that pounding heart is you are having a heart attack. And of course, this is a relatively wide-ranging problem and phenomenon. Nature, and they are pretty well doing annual surveys each year now. Nature, in their survey of PhD students this year, and they surveyed 6,300 PhD students from around the world. And interestingly, in that survey, 71% of those students said they were satisfied with their PhD. They were satisfied with their candidature. 71%, higher than I thought it would be, to be frank. But of the 100% they surveyed, 36% had sought help for anxiety and depression. Now, how anxiety and depression, how they were defined, unclear, and what that help actually was, again, unclear in the survey. But there are a lot of reasons for this, and of course the number one draft pick is the incredibly volatile nature of universities and the higher education sector as a workplace right now. So firstly, this higher education workforce, let alone the workforce beyond it, is highly precarious. But also the achievements that are necessary to get a job now are completely bonkers. So obviously you've got to have a completed PhD, it's got to be completed quickly, you need lots of publications, lots of citations, funding, conference contributions, and then contributing to what those weird words are like impact and engagement. How is your research impactful? Okay. Now, of course, the truth that nobody tells you is that nobody can do everything. Nobody can do everything. You know when I'll just tell you a truth. You know when they list in a job ad all the things they supposedly need a person to do and you go, really? Guys, that's a wish list. Nobody has it. So don't, again, worry about it. Don't get anxious. Do the best you can. It's enough. Nobody can do everything. But these multiple nodes of success also create multiple nodes of failure. And it creates anxiety about what we should be doing. But also this anxiety emerges because, to be frank, students have a completely imagined version of what a university is, particularly as a workplace. The notion that, wow, academic life is about autonomy. It's about freedom. That's mistaken. Deeply, deeply mistaken. So between and because of these expectations and these aspirations, the lived experience of academic life creates profound disappointment. Yep. So in the space between assumptions and ideas and actuality and reality, you've guessed it, that's anxiety. Now, in an Australian study from CAPA, the Council for Australian Postgraduate Associations, from April 2019, they reported that specific groups report anxiety at a higher rate than other groups. Who are these groups? I think you know what's coming. Transgender, gender non-conforming students, women are more likely to experience anxiety, and the groups, and this was the bit that stunned me in this research, the groups with supervisors who reduced the decision making of their students. So the groups whose supervisors reduced the decision making of their students. That's important. They suffer high anxiety. That's amazing to me. Also, perceptions of future careers, that creates anxiety. Absolutely. Students from rural, regional and remote areas suffer anxiety at a higher level. First in family students, Indigenous students, international students, students with a disability, but also students who lack friendship with peers. Those students with anxiety have a lower educational attainment level, higher attrition rates, but also reduced engagement while studying. Now, I understand the seriousness of all of this. This is really, really serious. And Joshua Fletcher stated that, quote, and this was really changed my life actually. So Joshua Fletcher stated, quote, "Anxiety is harmless and merely tricks you into thinking that the world is crumbling around you and you're dying a depressing, isolated death." Oh, what a great quote. So powerful, but think about that. Something that is harmless, makes you think that you're going to die. So therefore, wow, okay, let's now finish off with the 5 strategies to get you into a different space here, to manage anxiety in a different way. And look, when I was doing the research for this one, of all the comma series actually, the research was the most standardized. It was the most same. So I know a lot of these strategies appear, pretty, I would argue, self-evident, and the research repeated them over and over again. So the 5 we're going to do clearly work, but I know they seem sort of a bit banal, but they work. So let's go for it. Number 1, obviously, practice self-care. Now, this seems incredibly obvious. Yeah. Eat well, exercise, sleep. These, of course, in the context of anxiety, are distraction techniques. Now, don't say distraction techniques are a problem or minor. In this circumstance with anxiety, distraction techniques are crucial, because it's a way to get you beyond that looped thinking, beyond the fixation, and create the new patterns of thinking, the new patterns of feeling. The method for this alternative way of thinking begins with breath. The simplest way to stop anxiety is to slow down your breathing and breathe in and out through your nose. Should we do 3 together? No breathing through your mouth. Slow it down, nose. to be honest with you, I could feel my heart rate drop there. Amazing. Because, of course, where your breath leads, your body follows. So there's lots of apps that help you do this. Reachout.com has a mobile app called Breathe, but to be honest with you, there are hundreds of applications right now that can, when you're having a bad moment, you click the app and it will breathe you through it for a minute. That is a great strategy. Now, there's lots of activities that create anxiety, and a lot of you, and I'm talking hundreds of you, have written to me and said what creates anxiety for you is email. Answering emails, opening your inbox. Are you nodding? Yeah. So the research shows that the way you manage something like, I am freaked out by the emails. I'm freaked out by my inbox, right? I get that. I've been there a few times in my life as well, often linked to bullying, to be frank. But so engaging with the email. The research shows that when you gradually confront the issues that are worrying you, that enables what's called graded exposure. Graded exposure. This is important. So how you handle the anxiety created through email, let me tell you. So limit the answering of your emails to a period each day. And to be frank with you, start with 1 hour, okay? Do not have your emails open all the time. Beep, 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 beep. I'm getting anxious thinking about it. Instead, open your inbox, answer emails for 1 hour, close your inbox, and you'll be able to extend the time, but that is graded exposure. The worst thing you can do, by the way, is just not answer your emails because you're frightened of them. So for days, weeks, I've seen students do this for months, or I've seen academic staff do this for months. They just can't manage it. So of course it gets worse. So intervene, give me 1 hour graded exposure. Also, control your mobile phone use. You know, it's my obsession. I don't know where my phone is. I don't bother taking it to work. And there are many reasons for that. If your phone is endlessly pinging, you know, you're laying in bed and the blue light, and then the blue light, and then the blue light, notifications, notifications, how is that good for you? Okay, because you're on call 24/7 through the phone. Yep. So structured problem solving here is the way to create an intervention, because anxiety is based on overestimation of the likelihood that something will happen, but underestimation of your capacity to manage it. See the problem? You overestimated all this stuff's going to happen. Now it's not. You've overestimated that, and then you've underestimated yourself and your ability to handle it. So this structured problem solving balances that overestimation and the underestimation to create an answer, and that answer reduces anxiety. 2, step off the treadmill occasionally. Oh yeah, step off the treadmill just occasionally. Let's pretend your body is a car. Obviously a fabulous car, fabulous car. Now, to be frank with you, I treat stress, worry and anxiety as if my body is a car without fuel. So when you need to hit the gas and drive and get yourself out of a situation, there's nothing there because your tank is empty. Yeah, crucial. So that means these days I spend a lot of time keeping my tank pretty full, seriously. So, you know, at least once a day in this job, sometimes 20 times a day, but once a day something really bonkers happens to me and I need to hit the gas and get out of it. Okay, so I've got to have some energy there. I've got to have it, right? So when I need to get out of a dreadful situation, I have the capacity to do so. Now, all of us, therefore, need to try and keep the tank full. And to do that, in our current day and age, you need structural intervention, right? So I use language with myself these days. Only done it the last 5 or so years, but I now say stuff like, oh, I'm filling my tank up, or I'm filling my well. Yep, and I do that by, I have lots of strategies. I pay myself first each morning, and that means I do my research, my work, my writing. I get up and I do that first. That fills my well. Yep. I exercise every day. Structured, relaxes me, fantastic. Breath, great. I listen to an audio book every day. I love that. Only something I've done the last, I think, 3 years. Different narratives, different voices, different vocabulary, different arcs and narratives. Great. Really interesting for me. Listen to a lot of music. And of course, team, I focus a lot on breath, a lot. I'm a public speaker. I speak for a living. So that means I have to work a great deal. Can I say a morning like this is not helping my voice terribly, but I have to work very strongly on preserving my voice, working on my diaphragm nice and strong, and so that my voice is protected. I really see my body as the vehicle that conveys and travels with my voice. So I now have to really force myself, put structural interventions in place to relax. Look, these days work can fill every minute of every day. You would never sleep, you would work all weekend. That's how all-encompassing work is, okay? But actually, that is not an efficient use of time. And work should be inserted into your life rather than the other way around. So develop a leisure life. Use the word leisure. Let's bring leisure back. A space where there's no work, where you can breathe, listen to music. Short activities that are, you've guessed it, enjoyable. Now, if mindfulness is your thing, bless you. If meditation is your thing, great. I don't knock it. I've done a bit of meditation. Can you imagine? And look, it is good. It's not really my thing, but I get it and it's fascinating. What I do is when I leave work every day, I listen to AC/DC. I wish I was joking. Every day I listen to AC/DC. A Long Way to the Top if you want to rock and roll. You can't feel bad about the universe at the conclusion of that track, right? So I use music a lot to signal for my brain that work is over. And work is over, and I'm listening to AC/DC, and by the time I get home, and it's only a 10, 12-minute drive, I feel pretty good. I'm ready for the next thing, right? So short-term, 10-minute guided meditations, you know, when you're laying on the floor and they go, let your body, let your flesh sink into the floor. You know those people? Look, that again, your heart rate does decline. So do what works for you, which of course includes 3, share with your family and with your friends. Remember that old cliche that your mum used to tell you? A problem shared is a problem halved. Talk through the issues. Speak the words, put the feelings into language. And this is incredibly important because by expressing your worries, you're getting yourself out of the loop. And you're getting out of your own mind, the nagger version of you in your head, and you're talking about it, right? The key is to stop avoiding a particular situation or issue. This is the crucial one, team. If you're so freaked out that you're just in avoidance behavior, wow, it just means the next time the problem hits, your anxiety will be worse, okay? So share it. Talk through the issue with your family and with your friends. And they can accompany you. They can share the issues and provide narratives and stories and strategies to move you on in your life. So speak the worry. Speak the anxiety. 4, oh yeah, watch alcohol and watch drugs. Can I say this also includes coffee as well? What happens with alcohol and drugs is these are short-term strategies to shut yourself down and quickly. And can I say completely understandable? So shut yourself down and quickly. It blocks the speaking, it blocks the sharing, it blocks the breathing, it blocks the exercising. But also, of course, drugs and alcohol, sadly, can make you more vulnerable to anxiety rather than less. So we think we're solving the actual problem and we're creating the actual problem. The key to managing anxiety is to regulate emotions. What alcohol does is it crushes a set of emotions and creates another set of emotions. It doesn't regulate emotions, and it certainly doesn't solve problems. What happens? It creates new emotions and, of course, hello, new problems. Alcohol also blocks judgment. The key in managing anxiety is to ask one key question. This changed my life. One key question. Is this worry reasonable? Is this worry reasonable? 3 fingers of scotch to the wind, a whole series of things are suddenly incredibly reasonable. Like, I know I'm feeling bad today, but the aliens will be arriving tomorrow and they'll rescue me from all of this, right? The coronavirus will become the zombie apocalypse and I won't have to finish my PhD. 3 fingers of scotch to the wind, that seems a legitimate option for you, okay? 5, don't worry about what you can't control. If there is one truth that can create change for you today, if there is one mantra, then it is, don't worry about what you can't control. Anxiety is founded on what could happen. Today, make a decision to accept a worry. Accept it. Name it. Put it into language. Tell me the story of your worry. And then you know what? Get on with something else. Because problem solving is different from worry. Okay? And to solve problems, there are often 6 stages that you can use. Write down the problem. What is the problem? Write it down. 2, write down the solutions. Even the really weird ones like the zombies, right? Write down all the solutions. Think about the solutions and which one is the easiest to action. Pick the most practical solution. Plan how you will enact that solution. Last one, do it. Here's the problem. Here's all the solutions. Here's the best one. Do it. If you can't specify the problem though, you can't specify a solution. Then you can't control the situation. So worry is completely pointless. Control what you can control. Don't worry. Specify the problem in the worry and then come up with solutions. What anxiety means is that you are stuck. You're stuck in a stagnant fear. Move out of the fear. Move out of the discomfort. Get out of the comfort zone. Having anxiety is not a weakness. Having anxiety is a wake-up call. Now team, if anxiety is destroying your life and these pretty straightforward interventions are not going to work for you, please use professionals. Professionals can enact these strategies through talk therapy and get you to a different place. So go for it. If it's got beyond you, call that, name the problem and seek professional assistance to talk you through it. But as you can see, very simple behaviours can make change. Your life is not out of control. I know it seems right now that so much is out of your hands. And you know what? You're right. The overwhelming majority of things that are happening in life are out of your control. That's accurate. But so much is in your hands. So much is in your control. So let's focus on our business today. What can I control? What can I do in the next hour? What can I do today? Anxiety wastes your life. Don't waste your life. Don't waste it. Do something. Make a decision. Create change. And always remember that great line from Joseph Campbell, quote, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek." From a very, very cold Adelaide morning, I wish you love, light and peace. Tia.